Hey everybody, Captain Algebra here, and I'm here with the pickups for November of 2018. Find out what I got this month after the break. Alright, so another slower month than I'd had, which is good. Gotta save money for my daughters. So we'll get started right away. First, I did get a PS3 game this month. So I got the PS3 a few months ago. Didn't have any games for it. Saw this, it was sealed for $5. We got Transformers Devastation. Haven't tried it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Then we'll go with the Nintendo DS. I got one game for that. When I went to my parents for Thanksgiving, always stopped the game store up there. And they're having a 20% off for Black Friday for all pre-owned stuff. So I picked up a few games. This one is Mario vs. Donkey Kong in Mini Land Mayhem. So I really like the Donkey Kong games versus Mario. It actually started on the Game Boy with just Donkey Kong. And it's a really fun game. This one has a different aspect where you actually have to control some mini Marios. Kind of similar to Lemmings, but not quite because you can't do as much with them. It's more like you're controlling the environment and so that they can make their way to the door. So it's very interesting. Can't wait to try it out a little more. Next, we'll go with the game my brother picked up for me. So he came down for my daughter's birthday, and he picked this game ahead of time, and it is Black and Bruised on the GameCube. So it's a fun little boxing game. It's got a ton of characters. You can even unlock some people. And it's a solid game. I did a little training mode first to kind of learn all the punches, and you can block and obviously weave out of the way. And you can get some special power-ups depending once you land, I think, 10 punches in a row. You can get a power-up that allows you to punch harder or punch faster. So it's a very solid game. It took a little while to learn. I was getting my butt kicked pretty quickly, but I ended up, I think I was knocked down like 3 times in the first 2 rounds, but then I ended up coming back and winning the match. So it's definitely an interesting game. I know it also came out on PS2. Next, we'll go some NES games. So my brother was down here. We went to the store that has all these antiques, but sometimes you can find video games or toys, and my brother's a big toy collector, like Star Wars, G.I. Joe, He-Man, that kind of stuff, and obviously I love video games. So we're just searching. I actually found some NES games, which I never find at this store. So the first couple we had were just doubles because they're $5 a piece. I'm like, well, I'm going to pick them up. We got Double Dragon and TMNT. So this one's actually going to Die Hard Gamer Bros. I got to send that out to him soon. But then there was a third game that I did not have, Yo Noid. So Yo Noid was the mascot for, I believe, Domino's Pizza back in the 80s, maybe 90s. And basically it's a platformer, but it's very, very tough. It's one hit and you're dead, and there are some definitely cheap deaths. First level, you have to avoid some water that's coming up, but there's also fish jumping out of the ground, and you can't always tell where the fish are coming from. So you might jump to a platform, have to wait for the water level to lower again, and while you're standing there, with nowhere else to go, a fish jumps out and kills you. So it can be frustrating there, but it seems like a pretty fun platformer. I've heard a couple people complaining about it lately. I'm not really sure why. Maybe I gotta play it more, but it seems like a solid game so far. And then also, along with those NES games, there's a ton of PS1 games, so I picked out a few that I didn't have. First one I actually already have, Spyro the Dragon, for $5. Like, yeah, I'm gonna pick this up for $5. Game's great, especially with the Reignited Trilogy that's coming out. People are gonna want to play the original. So, you know, if anyone's looking for that game, definitely got it up for trade. Then a couple games I didn't have before. Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. So Bugs Bunny Lost in Time is one of the earlier 3D platformers. So you go around needing to find clocks so you can go to other time periods. And you can also collect carrots. Sometimes you have to puzzle your way to a higher platform to get the clock. Sometimes you have to platform across these dinosaur heads that are going up and down. There's a lot of different ways. Sometimes you have to jump in a hole in the ground and burrow through to find where that clock or the carrot is. It's an okay game so far. Definitely tell it's a very early 3D platformer. Graphics don't look very good at all. Not that I care about graphics, but it's definitely kind of an ugly game. But it seems okay so far. I definitely want to give it a little more of a shot. And then saw a game I had borrowed from a friend when I was a kid and really enjoyed it, even though I'm not a fighting game fan. I kind of had to have it. Tekken 3. But not only was this Tekken 3, you always got to open up the cases. This also had Tekken 2. So that one looks like the greatest hits version. Generally, that had less artwork on the cover. But these are solid fighting games. I remember borrowing this from my friend, and I just used Yoshimitsu. I don't know, I thought Yoshimitsu looked cool. He had the sword. And yeah, it's a very fun fighting game. I'm not very good at it like I am at most fighting games. I just never played them too much. So I figure out a couple moves doing, I just kind of spam them. But it's fun. And like I said, getting both those games for $5, definitely worth it. So remember, whenever you go to a store and there's PlayStation games, open up the case. Actually, any disc-based game. Always open up the case. You never know what you're going to find. And next, we're going to go with the Super Nintendo. So also when I was up visiting my parents for Thanksgiving at the same game store, I got Miniland Mayhem. We picked up a Super Nintendo game, Time Slip. So Time Slip was a game I had not heard of before, but I looked it up while I was there, and it sounded interesting. It's actually a run-and-gun shooter similar to Contra 3 on the SNES. Well, I don't know. Run and gun is a little much. Maybe jog and gun? It's very slow-paced compared to Contra, but it's still a solid game. It's much harder than Contra because you have a certain number of lives, and that's it. No continues. I believe there's 5 levels progressing in difficulty. It's pretty fun. There's some good boss fights. There's some power-ups to increase your weapon. Yeah, I think there's 4 power-ups you can get to increase the power and speed of your gun. So it's a fun game. If you see it somewhere for cheap, definitely pick it up. I think I got my copy for $10. So it's definitely not an expensive game. And for what it is, it's very solid. Then at the same store, we got some PS2 games. When I saw these, I had to have them. Castlevania, Lament of Innocence. So I'm very leery of the 3D Castlevania games just because Castlevania on the N64 I've heard such bad things about. But I saw this, it was $10. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Talked to Nefarious West, who was a huge fan of Castlevania, and he said it was a pretty solid game. But there's some issues obviously with it. It kind of reminds me of a Symphony of the Night type game, except it is 3D and it's not as much RPG. You play as Leon Belmont, and he's about to wed his fiancée when she disappears. So he embarks on a journey to bring her back, which leads him to Castlevania. And it's got solid fighting action. You can even use your whip to swing across places to get to other parts of the stage. You can also use your whip to jump up to grab the ledge of a balcony to get up and get some power-ups, stuff like that. So that's good. One thing that really sucks though is there's a fixed camera, which makes it so you miss things easily. Sometimes you kind of have to take a leap of faith. Definitely if you want to know more, Nefarious West made a video about this back in, I think, August. Very knowledgeable about the game, so definitely check that out if you want to know more. And then right next to it was another Castlevania game. Had $20 on the sticker, so I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay $20. But looking at price charting, it's going for $40. So I'm like, yep, taking that. Castlevania, Curse of Darkness. So this one was even more recommended by Nefarious West. This time, you actually have more of the RPG elements like you do in Symphony of the Night, and there's no longer a fixed camera. It's a very solid game. It's that 3D action game. It plays just like Lament of Innocence, but like I said, much improved. Very solid game. I highly recommend both of these. I can't wait to get more into them. Next, we'll go with some Nintendo Switch games. First one I got was from Super Rare Games. I've gotten a few games from them, and this was Snake Pass. So Snake Pass was a game I originally heard from Metal Jesus about a year ago, but it was digital only at the time. I'm like, nope, I don't want digital games. I don't want physical. So it's like, okay, I'll pass on that game. But I saw Super Rare Games was releasing it, so I got to pick it up. So it's kind of like a physics-based puzzle game where you play as Noodle the Snake, and you have to make your way through each level, opening up the gates, finding the keys that go missing. There's other collecting items you can get. Like there's, I think, 5 coins in each level you can find. And it's very cool, so you need to kind of move back and forth to move faster, just like a snake slithers through the grass or on the ground. You can wrap yourself around like bamboo to climb. It's very interesting, but it could definitely be frustrating at times getting the controls down. I think it'll be more fun once I get better at that. But the first time I played it, I was like, oh, it's not very good. The second time, I enjoyed it more because I was better at controlling the snake. Next was another digital-only game that I've heard great things about. Once I heard it was on physical, I had to get it. Golf Story. So Limited Run came out with Golf Story. I just got it this past week, and it's a very fun golf RPG. Like, I don't like typical RPGs with turn-based fighting. That bothers me. I do like action RPGs, and this is fun because you go around, you play golf. I'm not very far into it right now, But basically, you go to this old golf course you used to play with your dad, but it keeps alluding to something that happened to your dad, and you want to get back into golf. So you're going around, you're trying to get lessons, but for some reason the coach does not want to help you. And so you go around, you're trying to collect money so you can pay for a lesson. He says, fine, I'll take a look at your swing. And he just rips you apart, even though you're doing much better than the other people that he's coaching. So finally, you challenge one of his kids to a match, and this guy is terrible. You get a 3-hole match, best 2 out of 3, pretty easy to beat him. But you go around, you got different clubs you can use, you can do a little bit more precision, you can change where you hit the ball. I mean, it's very fun, and I really like the humor and all the talk between the characters. Definitely can't wait to get more into this. If you like golf, if you like RPGs, this is going to be a great game. A limited run sold out pretty quickly, but I know you can sometimes find the games cheap on eBay. Sometimes, not always. But like I said, it's also digital, so you can always get it on there. And last, we'll go with the PS4, my favorite console of this generation. A couple that I have not had a chance to record any gameplay footage yet. First one was my Black Friday purchase at GameStop, so thank you, Chris Pico, the old-ass retro gamer, repping his shirt. Check out his channel. He told me about the Black Friday was actually early online, like Tuesday, I think. So I went on, we got Detroit Become Human for 20 bucks, so very cool. Excited to try that. I've heard good things about it. Another game I got, I've been looking for a while. I've heard great things. Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition. So can't wait to get into that. Now it's a really big game, so kind of waiting on that. There's some other games I want to finish up first, but excited to play those two. Next was a game I got from Limited Run, Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive. So this is a side-scrolling beat-em-up, basically, where you have a choice of about 4 characters, and you go around fighting these followers of Phantom. And you start at the game, super powerful, you're kicking ass everywhere, and typical, like a lot of games where you start out super powerful, somebody takes all your power away and you start from scratch. And that was definitely hard to do because all of a sudden you're super slow, you don't have all your moves, but it's really fun. You got a combo meter, and there's actually 2 different planes that you can jump between. Now at the beginning, I didn't know you could do that because when I looked at the controls, all they told me were the 4 buttons that attack. And you can do a special attack and then light, medium, and heavy. And it said nothing about jumping between the planes. And so there's a part where I'm attacking all the people in the foreground, and sometimes people in the background jump to you, but then sometimes there's a part where they literally weren't jumping towards me. They just kept walking back and forth in the background. I was like, well, what the hell? Finally, just started pressing buttons. I think it was L1, you jump back to the other part, and you can jump back to the foreground too. I got to attack them. It was all good. There's boss fights. It was really fun. Definitely a game I highly suggest. So obviously it's probably digital too, since Limited Run sent it out. But if you can find a physical copy, definitely pick it up. Then this one's from Strictly Limited. This one I ordered months ago. They finally sent it out. Stardust Galaxy Warriors. So Stardust Galaxy Warriors is a horizontal shooter as a mech though. And what's really cool is you can pick which mech you want to be. There's maybe 5 or 6 choices. And once you pick the mech you want to use, you can change what type of weapons you have. So you got 2 weapons. You got a primary, you got a secondary. And there are multiple choices you can make. And it's kind of depending on the level you're playing in and also your style. If you like to be up close and personal, you have melee attacks. You also have like flamethrowers, or you could sit back and use homing missiles and stuff like that. So it's a very fun game. Each stage consists of multiple parts, and then eventually you get to a boss battle. So it's a lot of fun. It's not bullet hell, but there are a lot of bullets on the screen, and it can be kind of hard to avoid them at times. But it's pretty fun. Not as fun as I was hoping it was going to be, but it's pretty good. I think I was just kind of ruined because last month I got Shikondo and Dimension Drive, and those games are so much fun. But this is still a solid game. Definitely check it out. And last, the game I was most excited about when this came out, or when this was announced, I immediately pre-ordered it. You've been watching my channel, you know how much of a fan I am of this series. Spyro, the Reignited Trilogy. So when you pre-ordered it, you also got a Spyro keychain, which is pretty cool. So you guys know how much I love Spyro. Just a few months ago, I went through the original trilogy on the PS1 because I was so excited for the Reignited. So the day I got this, I did a little live stream of the first game, or parts of the game, and it's very good. Now, again, I'm not into graphics so much, but it is a beautiful game. It is so gorgeous. There's a couple times where I just took Spyro and I just looked around. I just wanted to see how much they made it look better than the original. As for control, it's still pretty solid. Spyro still moves very fluid. He can charge, he can jump, he can glide, but there are some issues. When you jump and glide in the first game, it's kind of like you jump to a point, and then when you hit glide, you kind of fall down a little bit. So there are a couple times where I would miss a glide, even though I'd played the first game on the original PS1 all the time. I'm like, no, I should have made that jump. That shouldn't have happened. And so that was frustrating at times. The speedways were also a little bit tougher. It seems like, I don't know if it was the camera or the control, it just did not seem as fluid as it did in the original game. And then even came back to make it harder in the races in Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, because when you go through the star to speed up, it's kind of like you get slippery in the air. You know, back in the original game, you could still control Spyro very well. This time you would go through the star and have to turn, and you kind of like slipped, kind of like you were on ice. It was really weird, not a fan. But other than that, it actually made the game easier. There were some mini games that you had to get orbs or eggs that were easier in this version than in the original version. Number one, the Bentley boxing match. That one's really tough in the original Spyro Year of the Dragon. This one, you can basically sit in the middle of the ring and just punch. You're eventually going to knock him down. And so it's very easy to get the skill point. Speaking of skill points, it's really cool they added skill points to the original game, which weren't there. So it's a very solid game. I probably still prefer the originals just because it controls a little bit better. But if you love graphics, this is gorgeous. Definitely pick it up. It's not that expensive. You get all 3 games. Yes, only one of the games is on the disc. You gotta download the other one. Who the hell cares? It's not that big of a deal. You still get to play the games. So those are my pickups for November 2018. Hope you enjoyed them. Let me know what you think. And definitely, like I said, check out these games. There's a lot of solid games here. So as usual, thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Captain Algebra, signing off.